Good morning. My name is Tom. I come to you from the Rustic log cabin in Northern Maine. Welcome to my cabin this morning. High food prices. That's what today's video is about. 2023 high food prices. What are we going to do? Well, I can only share with you what I'm going to do. It's no different than what I've done for the last 30 years or more. Good morning. My name is Tom. I come to you from the Rustic log cabin in Northern Maine. Get yourself a cup of coffee. Today's a big day here at the cabin. I am going to be baking homemade baked beans on the wood stove, and then I will be canning them up in a pressure canner. I do this every year at this time of the year. I plan on canning at least 40 pints of beans today, maybe 50. Won't be today, it'll be over the next couple of days. Hopefully this pot right here, this is a double batch, and hopefully this pot right here will give me at least 20 pints today. So what I'm going to do, this is a double batch, but I'm going to give you the regular recipe just really quick here. I start out with 1 quart of beans. They can be any kind of bean you want. I like little red beans or kidney beans. This batch right here is going to be kidney beans. And then I will put in a ½ pound of salt pork. Today, because this is a double batch, I'm going to put in the whole pound. And then I put in, and this is kind of to taste. I start out with 1/8 to 1/4 cup of brown sugar. If you go to the 1/4 cup, it'll start getting a little bit on the sweet side. So it all depends on what you like. I prefer just a little bit under the sweet side. So I'll hit somewhere around an eighth to 1/4. And then we have 2 teaspoons of dry mustard, salt and pepper, ½ teaspoon of salt and pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then I throw in 2 medium-sized onions. And that's all it takes to make this. If you want to make this in your oven, or if you want to put it on a wood stove, that's all that it takes to do that. Now, a couple of things I did ahead of time, especially this morning. It's too early to light up the video camera and start on this stuff. What I did last night was I soaked my beans in cold water for about 12 hours. I mix in a 1 tablespoon of salt to each quart of water. So this right here got 4 quarts of water, so 4 tablespoons of salt. What the salt does is it helps the beans stay together and not crack and explode during the boiling process. When I got up this morning, I put this on the gas stove and boiled it in the original salt water. And I brought it to a boil, and then I let it boil for 10 to 15 minutes after that. Your recipes will call for boil until the skin cracks. But if you soak it in salt water, the skin won't crack. The reason for boiling beans is to get rid of a lot of the gases that are associated with beans, so that does help. So that's about it, what I did last night, and then, of course, now I put it in here. Now, if you want to put this right on the wood stove and have it for supper tonight, you could let this simmer all day long on the wood stove. And the longer you simmer it without running out of water, the better the bean juice is going to be. So I would let these stay on the wood stove for anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. And usually it's that last hour or so that gives you the very best bean juice. But where I'm going to be putting these into a canning jar today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let these things sit on the wood stove for about 4 hours, give or take. And then I have a pork shoulder up here, a meat pork shoulder. I'll show that to you later as I'm filling the jars. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in about 1 inch of beans, and then I'm going to put in about 1 inch of pork, and then I'm going to top them off with the beans right up to here. And then I'm going to pressure can them for 90 minutes at 10 pounds. So that's this part of things. So let's get on to putting it together. Like I said, I'm doing, now from this point forward, this is all for a double batch. So the recipe I gave you at the beginning is for one batch. That's 1 quart of beans. What I've got here this morning is I have got 2 quarts of beans. So keep that in mind as you watch what I'm doing here. It's no great secret to what's going on. I like to do this here at the cabin because I enjoy it. My 1/4-inch measurer is up in my coffee. I mean my 1/4 cup. I use a 1/4 cup of coffee. I use a half a cup of coffee to build coffee pods. So anyways, so we're going to start out with putting in the brown sugar. Well, like I said, you know, this is really a camp staple here at the Rustic Log Cabin. This is something that if I'm coming up for a week's worth of ice fishing, I guess that's about it. Oh yeah, I forgot. This is a double batch. So I got to have a little bit more. I got to double everything up this trip. There. And if it's not sweet enough, you can take care of that. As you're cooking later on today, you can add to it. So now we're going to put in the molasses. Now I buy my molasses in the bulk because that way I have it when I want to make heavy. Alright, so I got a cup in there. Normally I would put in 3/4 of a cup. But we're going to start out with a cup. And if I need to adjust later on today, then I will adjust. Then we need some dry mustard. Normally 2 tablespoons. Today we're going to put in 4. Regular mustard does not work. I have tried it. It does not taste good at all whatsoever. And we need some salt. Now remember, the beans did soak up some of the salt from last night, so keep that in mind when you're adding your salt. I do like the pepper. Okay. We'll stir this in. Now I'm going to put this on the, I'm going to put this right on the wood stove. And then I'm going to cut up the salt pork. And cut up the onions and just put them in over there. That way you can start coming up to temperature. When I drained it, I drained the salt water off. And then I rinsed the beans. And then I added fresh water to it this morning. And I saved, I only top off to the top of the beans. But I saved the rest of it because it was boiling, you can see that water already has some color to it. And I think that that really adds to the flavor of the beans rather than just throwing in some fresh water. But I saved what's left over. I probably got a couple of ladlefuls over there. And as this boils off today, then I will add to it. So I'll be right back. I'm going to set this on the wood stove. Okay, the beans are on the stove. We're well on our way. But I really like doing this at camp. It's just kind of, I could do it at home a whole lot easier, I'm quite sure. But up here at the cabin, it just seems like one of them fun cabin chores that I enjoy. So, but we've got some salt pork right here. This one I've had in the refrigerator for a while, and it's actually gone by its date, so I'm going to smell it. Check it out. It's salt pork. It's loaded with salt. I can't imagine that date means anything. But like anything, trust your nose. Now let me smell this brandy new one over here. Either way, they're gonna get cooked. Okay, I'm not going to use this one because it does not smell. It does, well. Yeah, I'm not going. Okay, so now I've got out my salt pork. Now I like a meaty salt pork. Like I said, later on I'm going to cut up a great big pork and add to it anyways. So, but this right here, you know, I don't know, beans. Beans without salt pork, not very good. This right here is a pork shoulder. It's 8 pounds. I picked it up for $7.40. And I'm going to cut this up. I'm not going to do it now because I don't want it to cook down in the pot. What I want to do is cut this up raw. And then I'm going to put it in this jar raw. And it will cook thoroughly and still be intact when I go to pop the top off that. Now this right here is it comes sliced. I normally don't like the sliced one, but where I'm doing this, I want to make sure that there's some for every jar. So this one that's already pre-cut up will, you see, all I got to do is cut cross grain. But it's already cut up, so that'll give me a piece probably for every jar. Now I could also throw this in at the end, right on top, just before I put the lid on, because it would cook through too. But I think it gives the beans some flavor, so that's why it's going in right now. Okay, you won't be able to see, but I'm going over and just going to toss this into the, I'm going to go over and toss this into the pot. Beans and hunting and all of that kind of go together for me because of my upbringing. Stay. Because of my upbringing, my grandmother always had a pot of beans on the wood stove Saturday morning during deer season. And that way when all the hunters would come back from hunting, they would be able to have some fresh beans. So as she got older, she stopped cooking the beans. So, no, stay. Beagle wants to go out, but I don't have time to let the beagle out yet. Now don't hold back on the onions. If you like onions, this is the time to dig them out. because I love onions, and I really like onions. I really like onions in my beans. That's the thing I got against beans when you buy them in the can and all that. They leave out so many good ingredients, you know. Here in the state of Maine, people make beans out of just about anything. They throw in all kinds of stuff. I got relatives that they throw in pork chops, they throw in sausage, absolutely anything. I don't like these small onions. I gotta peel too many of them to end up with what I want. Oh well. But anyways, here in the state of Maine, maybe they do it other places. I don't know. I can only talk for what I know. You know, like I said, I got relatives that throw anything into the pot of beans and just let her go. My main thing is I like to get the molasses and sugar where I like it, because I like, that's what I don't like about store-bought beans. To me, they're bitter. B&M baked beans, I find them to be very bitter unless you doctor them up. You know, but right now, a can of beans sells for over $3 a can at the grocery store. So I had a viewer, his name's Jack. He always asks, how's my grocery bill doing with all these high prices? Right here, Jack, this is how I keep my grocery bill down. This will be, when I get done with this today, this will be 40 meals. So if you do the math, that's a whole month's worth of suppers if you ate them every night. Which I don't plan on doing. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm going to put these in the pot. Alright, so there's the pork. We're sitting on top of the wood stove. Just going to stir them onions in just a little bit. That's a pot of beans. Now what I will do is I'll bring this up to a boil. I got to fix the fire. The fire's not going very strong just yet, but it will be. So I'm going to bring this up to a boil. And then then I'll pull this thing forward. See, on a wood stove, on the back, the stovepipe is right here. On the back, that's high. If I pull it all the way forward, then I'll be on low. Because inside the fire, I can push all of the firewood to the back of the stove, so then I'll get even less heat up here in the front. So that's how I work a wood stove. You pull the coals around, you pull the firewood around, so that you can have your heat where you want it. Like I said, I'll let these simmer for about 4, maybe 5 hours. And I am going to put a little bit more liquid in here, because I like to have the beans just barely covered. And I will keep them covered all day long. And on this one, I will probably have a little extra moisture leading up to the very end. In here is the leftover, you can see, the leftover bean juice that I had from boiling them this morning. And that is it. So now we'll put the lid on these. I'm going to turn it around because my stove goes downhill because of the feet on it. There's the vent hole. So I'm going to make this so that the vent hole is on high ground when that starts to boil just a little bit. And then there's a vent here, vent hole, and a vent hole. You line those up. This Dutch oven has an arrow. And that's good to go. So I will be back later on, about noontime. I'm going to cut up the pork, so I'll bring you guys back for that. And I'll bring you back for the canning process. Okay, so now the beans are just about done on the wood stove. Now this is the shoulder that I have, so now I'm going to debone this. I'm going to cut it up into 1-inch chunks, maybe 1.5-inch chunks, so that I can put them inside of my canning jar. Also right now, I have 20 canning jars under the wood stove, getting them up to temperature. If I was at home, I would put them in the home oven at 200 degrees and bring them up to temperature that way before I put them into the pressure canner. Let's see, and that's about it. So now next I'll bring you back and we will show you the canning process. So here's the pork. What I've done is I've cut it up into small cubes. To place inside of the jar with the beans. These beans are meant for cold weather. That's why I put the salt pork in the recipe. That's why I put now I'm putting this pork in. Pork gives you lots of calories for building heat inside of your body. So if you're ice fishing on a cold day, this right here is like filling the furnace with a great big giant stick of firewood. So that's why the extra pork going into this recipe. And like I said, for ice fishing. So we're getting ready. Now these are about halfway cooked. These are halfway cooked. What I want to do is get a little bit of pork in each one. We're going to drop in a little bit in the bottom. And we're doing that because of air. That's all. And then we're going to drop in a piece of pork. We're going to settle that pork down into the bean juice because we don't want any trapped air down there. Then we'll top it off with more beans. Oh, gonna need a different spoon. What we're doing, we're just bringing it up right there to the bottom. And we're going to drop on a lid. And these are ready to go in the canner. Now when that pork cooks down in there, more juices are going to come out of that piece of pork. Lost my spoon. You don't really got to worry about getting too much juice. I don't want to have dry beans, but you'll be surprised at how much will come right out. Now what I did with these canning jars is I had them under the wood stove all afternoon. Bringing them up to temperature. If I was at home, I would have put them in the oven at 200 degrees. What I am making here is a nice little meal full of energy for when you're out on the ice cold and you eat this. All that pork in there will give you all kinds of internal energy for being warm. One more and we can go over and put them in the canner. Running out of room over here. I call these aren't Grandma's beans. And the reason I do that is because of all that pork that's going down in there. What I forgot to do on the first four, so I'll do it now. I went back and already took care of the other ones. I usually wipe the top down with some clear vinegar before I go putting the lid on. These jars are coming out from under the wood stove. Almost so hot I can't touch them. Yeah. They are plenty warm. So we got 10 of them so far in the canner. So that's good. I was hoping to get between 15 and 20 jars out of this pot of beans. Looks like we're going to end up with 15. I will make sure there's 15 in there. I got some meat here that I can can up as well. That's it. $15 pints of beans. So 15 pints of beans would be roughly $45 at the grocery store. So Jack, that's how I do it. So now what we're doing is I've got another pork over there in the cooler. I decided I'm going to stick that in. So in order to can this, very simple. That's why I decided to do it, so I could show you guys. Very simple. You fill up the jar with meat, no water. This is optional. And now you can put in, because it's just plain pork, now you can put in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt if you want. Like I said, it's optional. And this way I'll be doing a full batch over there. I'll be doing 20 pints instead of 15. Oops. And what this can be, you can cook with this. You can do anything with it. Or you can throw that into your pack, and that would be a really good emergency food. You wouldn't want to eat it in the summertime. This thing would be right full of energy. But if you were out on a cold day, and you want to throw something on the spit, that right there would definitely do it. Well, we need a little more. That'll do it. Make sure you're using salt. No sugar. I think I got 19. that's what it looks like. 19 of them in there. Now they're going to pressure can for 90 minutes. If you like the video, throw me a bone, subscribe to this video, and definitely hit the like button. I would like to see 100 likes on this video, and with 100 likes, I will continue on down this road, and I will see you next week.